up, man? We in another episode of the Biblical Blueprint. It's your boy Reylo, man. Chapter by chapter, verse by verse, we going through the Bible, man. I'm happy to be the one that's helping you with this journey. Thank you going on this journey with me. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a phenomenal journey. So let's go ahead and get into it. I got a lot to say today. Start by thanking God for this day. Thank you for waking us up. Thank you for bringing us here today. And, we just thank you for the lives that you've given us and the life you've given to others. And we just pray to just keep living and keep living to the fullest, Lord. Thank you so much. And please let the words that I am about to speak bless the people who are about to hear it. Amen. All right, man. So we're doing chapter 25 of the book of Genesis. We still in the first book of the Bible. You know what I'm saying? It's going to get long, but hey, we got a long journey. We just getting started. You feel me? Today, I want to speak from the theme of protect your legacy. Your choice shapes your destiny. Once again, protect your legacy. Your choice shapes your destiny. So, why are we talking about that? Well, we're going to start with just the biblical part of it, right? You know what I'm saying? In Genesis chapter 25, we go from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob and Esau. And it's a lot to unpack right here, but we got the word that we got to get to, so let's go ahead and get to the word, all right?
Genesis chapter 25 ERV. Abraham married again. His new wife was named Keturah. She gave birth to Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The people of Asher, Leum, and Latush were descendants of Dedan. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. All these sons came from the marriage of Abraham and Keturah. Before Abraham died, he gave some gifts to his sons who were from his slave women. He sent them to the east, away from Isaac. Then Abraham gave everything he owned to Isaac. Abraham lived to be 175 years old. Then he grew weak and died. He had lived a long and satisfying life. He died and went to be with his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah. This cave is in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar. It was east of Mamre. This is the same cave that Abraham bought from the Hittites. He was buried there with his wife Sarah. After Abraham died, God blessed Isaac. Isaac was living at Beer Lahai Roi. This is the list of Ishmael's family. Ishmael was Abraham and Hagar's son. Hagar was Sarah's Egyptian maid. These are the names of Ishmael's sons. The first son was Nebaioth. Then Kedar was born. Then Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the names of Ishmael's sons. Each son had his own camp that became a small town. The 12 sons were leaders over their own people. Ishmael lived to be 137 years old. Then he died and went to be with his people. His descendants settled throughout the desert area from Havilah to Shur. This area begins near Egypt and goes toward Assyria. Ishmael's people were often at war with the other descendants of Abraham. This is the story of Isaac. Abraham had a son named Isaac. When Isaac was 40 years old, he married Rebekah. Rebekah was from Paddan Aram. She was Bethuel's daughter and the sister of Laban the Aramean. Isaac's wife could not have children, so Isaac prayed to the Lord for her. The Lord heard Isaac's prayer, and he allowed Rebekah to become pregnant. While Rebekah was pregnant, the babies inside her struggled with one another. She prayed to the Lord and said, "What is happening to me?" The Lord said to her, "The leaders of 2 nations are in your body. 2 nations will come from you, and they will be divided. One of them will be stronger, and the older will serve the younger. When the right time came, Rebekah gave birth to twins. The first baby was red. His skin was like a hairy robe, so he was named Esau. When the second baby was born, he was holding tightly to Esau's heel, so that baby was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Jacob and Esau were born. The boys grew up. Esau became a skilled hunter who loved to be out in the fields. But Jacob was a quiet man who stayed at home. Isaac loved Esau. He liked to eat the animals Esau killed. But Rebekah loved Jacob. One day Esau came back from hunting. He was tired and weak from hunger. Jacob was boiling a pot of beans. So Esau said to Jacob, "I am weak with hunger. Let me have some of that red soup." That is why people call him Red. But Jacob said, "You must sell me your rights as the firstborn son." Esau said, "I am almost dead with hunger, so what good are these rights to me now?" But Jacob said, "First, promise me that you will give them to me." So Esau made an oath to him and sold his rights as the firstborn son to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil soup. Esau ate the food, had something to drink, and then left. So Esau showed that he did not care about his rights as the firstborn son. Genesis chapter 25 ERV.
All right. So, like I said earlier, it was a lot to unpack. You know, we see Abraham finally passed away, but before he passed away, he put up a whole bunch of more kids. But at the end of the day, the firstborn got everything. And from there, you know, he built upon it. And next thing you know, he started to have his own kids. He kind of went through his own situation just like his father did. And what we always see in these situations, especially, you know what I'm saying, where you raise kids up the way they're supposed to be. Abraham raised Isaac to where he's a total believer. So he prayed over his situation where his wife wasn't having kids. Prayed over his situation, and then, you know, we get the monumental kids in this part of the Bible. We get Jacob and Esau. You know what I'm saying? You can see that they once had a love for each other, but that's why we're having this talk today about protecting your legacy. Your choice is going to shape your destiny. You always want to protect your legacy. The main part of this whole scenario is that Esau gives up his birthright for some beans. Now, one of the things that we do see is that Esau was just an outdoorsman. He probably didn't value what was given to him. And honestly, you know, I'm kind of fast forwarding this is just because I've read past this and actually seen other books of the Bible about this, especially the apocryphal books, where it wasn't Esau that actually had the problem with it down the line. It was the kids who actually had a problem with it. You know what I'm saying? Of course, he had some type of problem with it, and Esau being man who he is, and even while he gave up the birthright, it didn't mean nothing to him. He probably was a hustler. It doesn't matter. I'm going to get it back regardless. You know what I'm saying? Take this. It don't matter. And you already know, this is stuff that was given from Abraham all the way to Isaac. Now it's coming to you. So it's a lot that you're given, you know what I'm saying, as it being the birthright. So why are we urged to protect the legacy, right? So I'm gonna get a little personal here. You know, this is actually a very, very hard time for me. Upon this recording, my aunt passed away. You know, I had an aunt that passed away, and it was real heartbreaking for me. You know, this is like my aunt. I actually lived with her growing up. She was like my second mom, and this was real hard for me because me and her were seeing eye to eye, but her and my mom were seeing. We had like a little situation from a previous death in our family, and you know, one of the things that my aunt had alluded to was, you know, you know, she wanted to kind of get things right with my mother, because she felt like, you know, if she passed away, you know, I will receive everything and my mom will be running around and stuff, and she hates her. And you know, it was kind of eerie, you know, having her pass away before she told me this, you know. And you know, I haven't even got to this point where I know what I'm getting or anything. I don't even like talking like that, because even when she told me that, I was like, I don't care about any of that. That's not what I do anything for. You know, I really, when it comes to family, I don't do anything for a monetary gain or anything like that. I just do it to keep the family together and to maintain the family. But one of the things I've learned as far as like maintaining ownership of things being passed down is that certain assets can come in the clutch, and they can come in to keep the family afloat in times of need, you know, especially when it comes to houses, even particularly cars. One person, you know, my grandfather passed away over 15 years ago, and he left me a truck, and somebody one of my family members just walked up. He was like, "That truck still work?" I was like, "Yep, it run like a dream." You know what I'm saying? Because I keep it up, I maintained it. And it was just like, you know, when you're giving things from a previous generation, you want to keep those things. One of the big reasons why I really maintain my stance, because, you know, I saw where, you know, you hear about people selling the family house, selling mama's house, selling grandma's house, selling papa's house, selling all the houses, right? And what happens with those families is when something happens, there's nowhere to congregate. I remember we had a close family friend where they got rid of their father's house, and when something struck, they didn't have anywhere to congregate. They had to congregate at our house. And it was just like, from that point on, I saw the importance of maintaining legacy. I might have to go through a situation where I might have to have discussions where it's a stern no, that we're not selling properties, we're not selling assets, we're going to maintain them and we're going to keep them, especially if it's smart things. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's cars involved, there's all types of stuff that's involved in this situation with my aunt, where it's like, my whole thing is just maintaining those things and passing it on and making sure that it's an asset for the generation above us and then below us. Then also instilling that in them, that things are not for sale. You have to protect the legacy. You know, it's a legacy in saying that we've had this house in our family for over 100 years. It adds to the legacy when you say we went from just one house to now we got 2 houses, now we got 3, now we got 5, you know what I'm saying, and multiplying, making it to where everybody in the family is living properly. You know, it adds to the legacy where, you know, everybody, like right now, we're having rent problems. Rent goes up every single year. But when you maintain legacy, where it's properties and assets inside your family, it makes costs like that be irrelevant. While everybody's paying $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 worth of rent, we're paying a fraction of the cost, because we maintain the legacy and we're respecting the legacy, and we're making sure that our choices shape a better destiny for us and the people below us, you know? And I just leave that with you always. Protect your legacy. Do not let things throw the legacy off. Don't let anything, don't ever sell things off. You're just seeing in this book where he just sold the whole birthright, and you can only imagine how much it was worth. Beans. That's what it is. When they give you that money, it's only gonna last for so long. The house will last forever. This property can last forever. We're not. You don't have a lot of situations where the government is coming in this manifest. Eminent domain. You know, you don't have a lot of those situations. You know, we actually live in a country where that doesn't happen. Maintain maintain your legacy, protect your legacy. Remember, your choices will shape your destiny and will shape the destiny of everybody around you. If you want to make it easier for the younger generation, always just think 1 to 2 generations below you. I don't even think my grandfather was thinking about how my son will be affected. You feel me? But his work that he put in during that time made it to where, hey, man, he created a great legacy for my son, and all I'm here to do is just to expand it. We're talking about life, and I really urge you guys, if you're ever given anything, protect it, keep it. Don't just sell it off for just money. You know what I'm saying? Money goes pretty quickly. In a situation where we're talking about business, because your boy is a life and business coach, right? There are several stages to things, right? And it can happen within generations, or it can happen with just expansion of a company, right? You always have your CEO, and then from the CEO, you have other people who help to create and actually manifest the idea. And once the idea is manifest, the more people you put apart will help you expand. There's some people that's there to help you just maintain, but there are things that will help you expand. You think about like fashion houses, some of these fashion brands have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. You know what I'm saying? There's actually people with Gucci as their last name, and this is the line that they came from, So it's like when you hear things about legacy brands and legacies as far as like companies are concerned, Ford, there's somebody with the last name Ford, and they making too much money off of these cars that have been around for generations, almost a century at this point in time. You got to look at everything, how it's going to affect. Always just think long term. I guess that's going to be the key. It's just when you're doing anything as far as like legacy, think long term. I think about my brand investing in culture, right? I was just talking to somebody. I was like, man, I've been doing this about like 10 years, and I really haven't even scratched the surface as far as like generating revenue or anything. My whole goal at this point in time was just making sure that I had the quality to actually produce things and nobody be bringing me stuff back like, oh, this fell off, or this doesn't stick anymore. You know what I'm saying? That was my whole entire goal. And now that I've reached that goal, now it's time to move forward. And I always look at other fashion brands, Louis Vuitton were trunk makers at first. They weren't balling from the first 25 years. That came later. Christian Dior, same type of scenario. A lot of these fashion brands had to make clothes for the Nazis. You know what I'm saying? Just for they to get their money up. You know what I'm saying? Mercedes-Benz making cars for Nazis. So it's all types of things that you have to think about when it comes to building a brand. It's not just, you can't just think, oh, what am I going to do for the first 10 years? Or what am I going to just do for today to make my money? How is this brand going to stay around for a century, for decades, century? That's what you want to look at. Because when you look at the biggest brands, a lot of them took years to build. Yeah, we can talk about Amazon. That kind of started to really take flight, you know what I'm saying, in the early 2000s. But remember, he was just selling books. He wasn't making a whole bunch of money. It wasn't until somebody came along. It was people that helped him maintain the vision. It was people who helped him create it. People helped him maintain it. But there's people that came around that helped him expand it. And that's where it came about. So what I just like to say to you is just think long term and think for the others and what you're going to do for the others that actually come and be a part of what you got a part of. We even heard in this, like, even though Abraham had slaves, he gave gifts to the slaves and gave things to his slaves during this point in time. you know, to show his appreciation, because at the end of the day, you know, without his slaves, they wouldn't have nothing when you really think about it. So my goal today was just to tell you to think long term when you're doing something. I remember a great man told me that anytime you're doing anything, think 5 years ahead. And then after you get in the practice of doing that, then start taking 10, taking 15, 20, until you're able to think so far to where you're able to think for other people that are coming and being a part of whatever you're doing. And pray for me in my situation, you know. Anybody who's watching this, I just ask for your prayers. And, you know, thank you if you watched this all the way through. You know, I hope it just blessed you. And I hope that it gives you a different perspective on your legacy and how you should maintain your legacy. Protect your legacy. Don't ever sell off your legacy. It's your boy Reylo, it's the Biblical Blueprint. I'll see you in the next video.